Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about Wonder Woman. And we're looking at the visual effects in the movie Wonder Woman. To do so, we go to the art of VFX, which is visual effects. And there was this interview with Jessica Norman, who was the visual effects supervisor of MPC. MPC is the one that did the visual effects for the Wonder Woman movie. The interview was by Vincent Free. I'm not going to do everything. I'm just going to do pieces of the questions and her responses. So, one of the first things that was asked was, what was the approaches and expectations by MPC about the visual effects, especially by Patty Jenkins and her team? And she said, in many of our shots, the visual effects work is meant to be invisible, supporting the drama and the action. A combination of stunt, special effects, which is SFX, and VFX, which is visual effects, were used. There was a good balance, but some shots relied more on CG, like the impossible stunts that we created with a digital Diana. So what were the sequences made by MPC? And they go into the sequences. The major sequences were No Man's Land, Veldtown, and the beach battle sequence, from the point where Steve's plane comes crashing down towards Themyscira. Special note, while there were certain special effects for other things, most people said that most of this film was CGI and green screen. And that could be further from the truth, okay? This includes Steve Trevor flying the plane away from the German forces in Turkey. The Ottoman Empire, at least at the time. How do you organize the work at MPC? The majority of work and shot production happened at MPC Montreal, apart from the acid bills, which were split between MPC London and MPC Bangalore and Match Mauve. Okay? Themyscira is a beautiful location. Can you explain in detail about its creation? It's very important to understand. MPC created the environment for the beach battle sequence, including the cliffs behind the beach and the reefs that surround the island. The scene was shot across two beaches on the west coast of Italy. The brief was to add cliffs to match the ones on Venanotica Beach on the east coast of Italy. Venanotica is far from the practical location to shoot at, while we experienced when we went there for extensive texture and reference photography. We used the sand, sea, and action from the shoot and added cliffs, reefs, additional sand, and ocean extensions for the environment. Beyond the cliff on the beach, we extended with mountain landscape to match other scenes in the movie. So, in other words, this is the actual scene Diana is in. These are the actual landscape, this is the actual sky, etc. And what they did was they added in cliffs, they added in the sea that you see here, and they extended the sky. So all of this you see here is green screen and CGI. All of this. Alright? But Diana actually was, or shall I say Gal Gadot, was actually on location. This wasn't just a green screen. She wasn't in a room with green screen. She was actually on location. This is the location. This is what it looked like. And they actually added continuity to it. So that when people say, oh, they were just acting in front of a green screen and all I can see is green screen, there's no way they could know that because she's actually in this scene and you can see that they altered the scene, okay, to get the desired result they wanted. Okay? That's why I can't understand when they're saying, you know, oh, it's green screen, everything is green screen. You don't know what is CGI and what is real. And you would be surprised to know what was real and what was CGI. Isn't that interesting? Okay, let's move on. The Amazons have a fight against the soldiers. How did you create the various digi-doubles? All of the digital characters were built by NPC's teams based on scans and texture photography that we captured during the shoot. Again, what is CG and what is real is not always easily distinguishable. Sometimes we can pick up what is CG, but not all the time. Can you tell us more about the CG crowds? For the beach battle scene, we were able to use a lot of material from our mocap library, including horses, bows, and gun action. You have to understand, the actual actors did ride horses, but they also had CG doubles to be able to do certain shots. So certain shots were actually CG shots, integrated and mixed in with live action. So which person was a CG double at a certain period in time and which person was live action, sometimes you can't tell the difference. What we didn't have was male versus female clips or guns hitting bows. We therefore conducted a mocap shoot in our London studio with 2 of the fight coordinators and 2 stunt actors, which we used extensively for some shots where the Amazons jumped from the cliff and we went straight to animation. Now let me give you an example of that. Do you remember when the Amazons jumped from the cliff and you saw all those Amazons, and in slow motion an Amazon was drifting across and then she shot the bow? That was a mixture of CG and live action. But then when the character actually got hit with the bullet in her body and she sort of bucked, that was CG. And then it came back to live action where she was hanging lifelessly on the rope. So that's an example of where it went from live action to CG, and you couldn't tell because they're incorporating the live action shots and then sometimes they flash across to CG for certain shots where to make it more convincing, and sometimes they merge live action with CG. So that's why I explain to people, if people are saying that they know where the CG is and where the green screen is, they're lying. Listen to this. How did you enhance the various fights? For the beach battle scene, we extended the crowd with Amazons fighting Germans, arrows, muzzle flashes, and ground impacts. We used a mixture of live action elements combined with CG impacts. So you have to understand there were actual explosions, but they also enhanced them with CG effects. Impacts and explosions. So there was some CG to enhance it, but this actually happened. And sometimes they would use, say for instance, the CG double, but it's merged in with live action. Okay? A handful of shots were shot on green screen back at Leavesden Studios on a Robo-Moco rig. For these shots, we added the CG horses, hero characters, crowd, and environmental extensions. So here is an example of some of it. And let me show you that itself. So here we have actual actors here. This is not CG actors. These are the actual actors reenacting the scene. These are stunt doubles, of course, of this scene right here. This is, of course, when the Amazons come down from the cliff. They just came down. They, came down with ropes from the cliff, and they're charging towards the soldiers. Alright, they did this in front of a green screen, but it's a combination of green screen and live action. In fact, even on the beach you saw a green screen on the beach itself. This though was shot in a studio, in a London studio, and you see the difference here. It is outdoors though, so that you can get the lighting. Alright, so they go on. Can you explain in detail about the creation of the no man's land and the village? Alright, so let me just cut to the chase. They say that the sky, the sky in no man's land mostly was CG. some of the detailing in the distance was CG. Of course, the aerial shot where we saw the war happening was part CG, was filled in as well. And they also talk about the fact that sometimes where you saw props in the shot, it was CG. Okay? Sometimes the bullets were CG. Sometimes they were real bullets. Well, not real bullets, but, you know, glowing projectiles. So again, they merged the CG with live action. And then the Veld town, which was in Belgium, the little town of Veld, this is what it looks like. Again, there's a mixture of live with CG. Live with CG. So you can see that the top of the tower was actually, it wasn't in existence. The buildings, the lower ends of the buildings were in existence. The tank was real. The soldiers were real. Okay. But they had a CG double for Wonder Woman. So when you saw Wonder Woman flying through the air here, she's actually in CG here. This is a CG Wonder Woman, which isn't. They did an incredible job with the CG of Wonder Woman. So here is what you're seeing here. There's no green screen for this, as you can clearly see. The sky is real. Everything, the buildings are real, everything. The only things that are not real are some of the cannon fire that you see here from the tank. And Wonder Woman herself is not real, as she's flying through the air, which you probably wouldn't believe because it was done in slow motion. You're thinking Gal trampoline up in the air, but no, she didn't. That was a CG Gal. Okay, here again is Gal, and this was also CG. Okay, believe it or not, this looks like a real Gal Gadot, and she's about to leap. Anytime she was leaping very high in the air, that was actually CG, and they put in a lot of work to get her to leap. So there's a lot of times where she was actually real, and then there was CG. Okay. So they talk about it here. They say that there's a beautiful sequence where Diana goes into no man's land. Can you tell us more about it? So they talk about replacing the sky and stuff. Did you create the digi-double for Diana? To create our digi-doubles, we use scans, text photography, and photogrammetry. We gathered various face, cloth, and motion reference material, and we built 2 different costumes and 2 different hairstyles. Now, controls were developed for our hair simulation tools, so we could have more control over what we wanted to maintain for the origin of hair design, rather than just rely on simulation. Okay, and they had a fully dynamic muscle system, and they try to get some elements of realism and so on. And I think this is the one that they really talk about here. In the village, Diana is fighting German soldiers in very slow-mo shots. Can you explain in detail how these shots were? So one of the shots, we see Diana fight off numerous Germans with a lasso. So she said 4 plates were shot on the Veld town set. Then we stitched them together, while the second and third plates ended up being CG backgrounds to allow for camera corrections. In this shot, Diana and the Germans are full CG. Plates with a stunt double doing as much moves as possible were captured on set and later on a green screen stage. However, so there was a real stunt double that actually did some of these. We mainly use these as reference as they were hard to incorporate into the stitched background. The FX team placed sand and small rocks across the floor that the CG characters interact with. In other shots in the sequence, we did face replacements. So you actually have the stunt double actually there, but they put Gal's face on the stunt double, or added a CG lasso, sparks, impact enhancements, and environmental extensions. A full CG Diana was used for the powerful run and jump shots. So this is a full CG here of Diana you're looking at. Okay. Other times, again, like I said, they merged CG with reality. Okay. So the stunt double for Diana at times it looks like it's Gal doing everything, but it's really not Gal. They put Gal's face or sometimes their features on it, and they'll go into more detail about this. Okay. So, forget the lasso of truth. We knew that was CG. Well, partly. Actually was kind of real and part CG. Can you explain in detail the shot where we followed Diana inside the building and then in the air kicking a German soldier? The sequel of shots used mix of different techniques. It was great to work with the second unit director and stunt coordinator Damon Caro, who has a great understanding of what can be done with camera, stunt performance, and also visual effects. Stunt shots with replacements were intercut with close-ups of Gal Gadot. The shot where Diana crashes through the window was a shot with Gal Gadot on wires on a green screen. At the start of the shot, she's fully CG to allow for extra movement outside the window. The window destruction was largely FX, with some enhancement from live action elements. And let me show you that now. So here she is. This is actually Gal here, leaping through the window. But they add the effects and, of course, all the background and everything. So this is an actual actor, and their actual props here, and his actual wall. But then they add all the extra effects, and they add in, the lighting from outside and stuff like that, all the details. So that's why I said it's not just green screen. They're adding elements to the film, but there's real and there's added elements. The wall here is real. The circles here are real. The person here is real. Gal doing this is real. But the background here is not real, and of course all these particulates are not real. Okay, so there's so much a green screen can do, and there's different times when the green screen is used. Okay. So there are a lot of sets involved here. And I think a lot of people don't know this. But there's one more thing I want to talk about here. So let me see if I can find it. Alright, so the main challenge they were saying was Diana. They had two main stunt doubles who had slightly different facial features and body proportions to Gal Gadot, making the animation complicated. In many shots we had to replace more than just the face of these stunt doubles. And she said they used athletes, and they used stunt doubles, and they used stunt performers, and they used Gal to really put together the CG Diana. And it was really, they had to work on so many algorithms to get her to feel superhuman but believable at the same time. Now there are certain shots where we see Gal do some impossible things, like with the explosion as she's going inside the building and she jumps up on the wall and she kind of holds on to the wall. It kind of looks a little bit unbelievable. There's other times with the lasso where it kind of feels a little bit surreal, a little bit CG, but it still feels kind of natural, right? There are other times where you can't tell that it's not Gal doing the stunt because you don't know that her face has been CG replaced. The stunt double's face has been CG replaced, and you think it's Gal doing it. And these are the crazy things. When you look at the Amazon fight scenes, they're exceptionally well done, but there's CG in those fight scenes as well, merged into the live action fight scenes. It's not that the actors didn't do the scenes and it's not literally done, but it's enhanced with CG. And then they're able to change the speed at which these fight scenes happen as well, slow them down, speed them up, etc. For instance, when we saw Hippolyta leap off the horse, spin in the air, and take out those different soldiers, it's not necessarily that a stunt double for Connie Nielsen didn't do that, but it's Connie Nielsen's face you're seeing, which is the crazy part. We saw a scene where Antiope falls off a horse and falls down on the ground. That's CG. That's not literally Robin Wright doing that. So there's these crazy things. Of course, we know about the one where Robin Wright pulls the bow and actually hits a soldier. While Robin Wright did actually do that, she actually did fire a bow with her hand She didn't hit a human being. And so there's interaction of CG with realism. And that's where you have to really know the fine line between the two. So I have no doubt these actors performed all these stunts, but I do believe the CG enhances certain stunts and enhances certain effects, and that's what makes it so interesting. So, in short, people who are saying that, Wonder Woman had CG heavy and there was so much CG going on, I always ask them, where exactly is the CG done in this movie? And they usually can't tell me where it's done. And that just is a testimony to the fact that visual effects have become so good, sometimes you cannot tell when a visual effects is actually done and when it is not done. You still have times when you can pick it up, but for the most part, in Wonder Woman there are times when you are not even aware that there are visual effects going on. And to me, that's amazing. This here is a lovely picture of Gal here as Wonder Woman using that lasso. I really enjoyed it. By the way, that final fight with Ares, we know Ares was almost completely CGI. You know that. And there are times when he moved like a CGI kind of figure, which was kind of clunky, and I didn't like it. But were you aware that even before he became Ares, that Sir Patrick Morgan at certain points in time was actually CGI and CG enhanced? And that's the amazing thing. And it's not necessarily that David Twillis' face wasn't CGI. It's that his body at certain times was CGI. But could you detect when it was? And to me, that's amazing. Of course, he was younger. When he looked younger as Ares on Earth, obviously he was CGI enhanced so that he could look younger. But I'm talking about when he was talking to Diana. And even when he was fighting Diana at certain points, obviously you knew he was CGI because he's floating up in the air and stuff. Well, not exactly, because it could have been actual David Twillis doing that with a green screen. But there were points where David Twillis is actually CGI, even as the normal Sir Patrick Morgan. And I think this is so awesome. And sometimes even in the most mundane ways, they're able to do these special effects. And you're not aware that that's special effects right there. So, I'm saying all of this just to let you know that special effects now and CGI is actually integrated into live action. And that's how we're getting it. For instance, this gal here is a portrait. And the entire appearance of Gal here is actually a painting. This is not literally Gal Gadot. This is Gal Gadot. This is someone who painted this of her. They did an excellent job of getting a likeness. Now imagine there's a CGI of Gal Gadot, a scanned out version of Gal that looks exactly like Gal. Think about what I was saying about the Prime One Studios Diana of Themyscira. You saw that statue, how beautiful it looks and almost real like Gal Gadot. Now think about the fact that this studio, MPC, has something even better and more accurate than that of Gal. And that, my friends, is how far technology has come. Now it's all about trying to mass produce it and make it cost effective. But that's how crazy things have become. And I think that's just awesome. I love this artwork, by the way, which was done by a fan. Beautiful stuff. Finally, I want to end my day with the box office for Wonder Woman. As you can see now, the domestic total is $4,488,018 as of yesterday, Wednesday, August the 19th. Now, why that is interesting is because, and the worldwide Kume is now $795,388,018. Now, doesn't change Wonder Woman's standing domestically yet, but today, by the end of today, I do believe her standing has either closely changed or it has changed. Okay? It should take the 26th position by Friday, which is tomorrow. if it hasn't done it today. And that's domestically. So that means it would have overtaken Frozen before the end of this official week, the work week. But of course, going into the weekend, it would have overtaken Frozen. Which means its next target would be Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. So it's creeping ever so closely and ever so quickly to Spider-Man's total, which is awesome. In terms of worldwide grosses, this is where it stands now. It stands at position number 66 still. It passed E.T. and now it's coming up on Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. So hopefully it will be able to overtake that before the weekend is up. If it can get anywhere closer to Shrek the Third, that would be awesome. But it is about to cover another milestone, which will be $800 million pretty soon. If it doesn't happen at the end of this weekend, which more than likely it won't, definitely by the end of next weekend, it would have accomplished that, which would be very, very awesome. And not only that, but the following weekend it opens in Japan, so that'll give it an extra burst of currency. So I'm looking forward to that. If they keep it in cinemas for 16 weeks, which in North America, it could probably stir up some really great trouble in North America, even though it's fizzling out right now. And it could really give the Hunger Games a run for its money. But as it stands right now, it's winding down. And it's winding down quite quickly. Nonetheless, I just wanted to give you all of this information so that anybody tells you about special effects and there was a lot of green screen in Wonder Woman, guess what? There wasn't. There wasn't a whole lot. That's why its budget was so low. $150 million to make this film because it didn't have a whole bunch of green screen. It didn't have a whole bunch of CGI. Even though they put in a lot of work to get the CGI done. So on that note, I hope you guys have a great one. Have a great one, guys.